On 1620, the Mayflower departed from Plymouth, England. The ship arrived at Provincetown, Massachusetts on November 21st, and then at Plymouth, Massachusetts on December 26th. There were 102 passengers on board. This is from onthisday.com, September 16th. This is Spiritus Holographica. I'm Wolfman.
I'm Ricky Bearhart. The United States National Hurricane Research Project drops 8 cylinders of silver iodide into the eye wall of Hurricane Esther. Wind speed reduces by 10%, giving rise to Project Storm Fury. Saturday, September 16th, 1961.
And these are the topics of the podcast today. And reason why I'm choosing Mayflower is it's that time of year again. It's fall. And fall, it's autumn, it's Thanksgiving season, and coming up in November, and this was the birth. And let's just say what happens if the natives of the land don't help the English. What happens in history? That's something to ponder.
Yes, well, there's many, many different tales about how that sort of thing actually happened, depending on what politics you have. They're saying that there's some people that say that neither side helped each other, and there's other people that say, one was victimized by the other. I'm not entirely sure. You're talking about the Mayflower?
I'm talking about the Mayflower. I'm talking about when they came over the country, over to the new country or the new land, and they weren't. Let's just say they were struggling to survive and everything else. If they weren't helped, what would have happened to the America?
Well, are you aware of how many people died during that winter?
I'm not sure how many.
Considerable amounts. They might have all died. The colony might have failed if it wasn't for the intervention that took place. About Project Storm Fury on Wikipedia, Project Storm Fury is said was an attempt to weaken tropical cyclones by flying aircraft into them and seeding them with silver iodide. The project was run by the United States government from 1962 to 1983. Hypothesis was that the silver iodide would cause super cold water in the storm to freeze, disrupting the inner structure of the hurricane. This led to the seeding of several Atlantic hurricanes. However, it was later shown that this hypothesis was incorrect. It was determined that most hurricanes do not contain enough supercooled water for cloud seeding to be effective. Additionally, researchers found that unseeded hurricanes often undergo the same structural changes they were expected from seeded hurricanes. This finding called Storm Fury's succession into question, as the changes report now had a natural explanation. I don't really understand how back in 62 to 83 they had enough diagnostic material to be able to know that it was having an effect or not. The reason that I cite this Operation Storm Fury thing, I mean, first of all, this happened this day in history, so specifically. But you've heard a lot of people talk about conspiracy theories, like about chemtrails and about HAARP weather modification. I just had a discussion with some friends of mine today, Joe, about how about the HAARP conspiracy. And at the end of the day, the question remains the notion of weather control.
Yes.
And what it is that weather control brings to the table for a civilization. And that's what I would focus on today with my article. because Operation Storm Fury subtext is weather modification. Weather modification is not flawless weather control. It's not like Doc Brown going up right on schedule and the rain stops. However, it makes a interesting model for them to build data and determine what of the weather can be manipulated and to what extent.
See, I remember watching a movie in 1995. It was called Twister. And
Yep.
it was about
Yeah, I remember that
tornadoes, and it was about them trying to put something in the tornado to predict how the weather pattern would actually be.
Yeah, through diagnostic models, and what I'm saying is I don't know that they have the ability to. First of all, I don't know the scientific basis of that Twister movie. That could all be rubbish for all I know. What I'm saying is this legitimate project, Storm Theory, was done for the purposes of assessing weather modification. I've heard stories where they supposedly seed clouds to make it rain, and that's the whole premise is that they put various materials into the air. And the popular conspiracy theory is they have some sort of microwave system that heats those metal particulates up. Now, I'm not a climatologist, but I'm sure you're aware that storms happen when hot and cold fronts meet with each other.
Yes.
So if you could engineer an artificial warm front, the conspiracy goes that you could engineer an artificial storm.
Yeah.
I watch a video, I wouldn't call it a conspiracy channel. It's called Security. It's got a lot of UFOs and fringy stuff on it, but it has appeared on Fox News.
I have a question to ask.
Yes.
Now, since we're on the topic of storms and how HAARP or something like that could possibly generate storms, what about the idea of prayer? Deflecting a storm or generating a storm?
Have you ever seen an example of someone praying and a hurricane stopping, a group of people stopping a hurricane with their prayers?
I've heard this story on Coast to Coast AM. They were praying or doing intent, and they projected a storm not to hit one area. It didn't hit that area. However, something could have happened and the storm could have hit another area.
Well, yeah, that's what look, even if they could pray and calm the storm, even if it was like a Jesus on the Lake Galilee situation, can you do that reliably? Like having a project in the military where you're trying to be able to push on and off buttons and make weather changes.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe there's a spiritual component, but there's a lot of people who pray for storms not to come, and they come anyway.
Yeah.
But the question is there a scientific interface with the weather? Is it possible either now or in the future? And the thing that I saw on Security was an anomaly in the Doppler radar. The guy who runs the channel his name is Tyler, and he does a bunch of stuff. It's mostly UFOs, but he'll occasionally cover other things of a more of a less explained or less classifiable nature. And he showed in the Pacific Ocean. This is Tyler on Security, the YouTube channel for UFOs. He showed an anomaly in the Pacific Ocean stretching from the North Pole to the South Pole. And on either side of that anomaly, it seemed that two vortexes appeared. And he had that from a public website that publishes this data. And he himself, his channel appears on Fox News, so he's not without. In other words, it's a kooky subject matter, but he's not a kook. He has credentials.
No, he's legitimate.
So all I'm saying is at the end of the day, you have something called HARP that does X, Y, and Z that we know of, and that's a conspiracy theory. Some people say that HARP does more than what they tell us. Now, again, not talking about evidence, not talking about what we have. What I would say is weather control. The question is,
Well, sorry to cut you off for a second.
yeah.
Wouldn't you say in the past few years that the storms had been more severe than others? Like, if you notice, New Jersey in a few years ago, it kept on getting hit with snowstorms. One after the other, after the other, after the other.
Well, not to cut you off, but there's a lot of old timers that say that it don't snow worth nothing anymore, and it used to snow a lot more when they were kids. I don't have the data to be able to tell you if the storms are worsening or becoming more frequent. I have no idea. All I know is, at the end of the day, if you have a society that can control the weather, what implications does that have for said society? Like, asking the question, what would you do with weather control if you were emperor of the world?
Well,
And I'm asking you specifically.
here's the thing. If I was, quote unquote, emperor of the world, or let's just say a future president of the country, not mentioning names, I would make sure that my land, or where I come from, got hit the most with the storms. Here's why. If my land or my area gets hit and I'm the good guy and I actually help my country come back, my town come back, my city come back, I do stuff with building, and I get the community involved and everything else, I'm going to look good be a ruler of the land year down the road.
What? Yeah, well, what I'm saying is restoration and stuff, that should have all been done already with past presidents. Our infrastructure's crumbling, our industries are all out of the country. That's besides the point. That's what this president's about now. What I'm asking you is, you can be president if you want, however you want to call it. I'd say emperor of the world. If you, as Joseph Vivaldi, as the emperor of the world, had weather control, literally you could turn storms on and off, what would you do with that technology?
One, if I had the technology, I would make sure to have it rain in places that haven't rained in a while. Get that better climate, or better
drought management,
and stuff like that. Areas that were being hit with rain and pelted, I would increase on it. And also, I would make sure there's rain pouring in California to put out the fires.
That'd be a nifty thing. So you've already cited two things. Agrarian irrigation through monsoon, controlled monsoon, and fire suppression and firefighting with controlled monsoon. You've already stated two functions where weather control can solve two big problems. Those are pretty insightful responses. Now, what's one of your favorite movies? And on another show, we started to watch it recently.
Back to the Future.